I don't know how you can impeach somebody who's done a great job.
Impeachment came up with Donald Trump and Fox News because of the Michael Cohen thing. Cohen, Trump's former lawyer, pleaded guilty to 2 campaign finance felonies this week. In the process, he identified the president as a co-conspirator who directed him to break the law.
I watched a number of shows. Sometimes you get some pretty good information by watching shows. Those 2 counts aren't even a crime.
Trump's theory is that Cohen admitted to 2 phony campaign finance crimes so that he would get a break on 6 other real crimes, including bank fraud and tax fraud.
And they put the 2 counts of campaign violations in there, but a lot of lawyers on television, and also lawyers that I have, say that they're not even crimes.
Trump's theory means the judge, too, had to be in on the conspiracy because the judge accepted Cohen's guilty pleas to the crimes Trump says aren't crimes. It's a shaky theory, but at the heart of it all, says Trump, is a common law enforcement practice.
It's called flipping, and it almost ought to be illegal. They make up things, and now they go from 10 years to they're a national hero.
He didn't know the details of this until we knew the details of it, which is a couple weeks ago. Maybe not even maybe 10 days ago.
That was President Trump's new personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, describing what the president knew about a $130,000 payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels to gain her silence days before the election about an alleged affair with Mr. Trump. That payment was arranged by Mr. Trump's self-described fixer, Michael Cohen. The night before, also on Fox, Giuliani said Mr. Trump personally repaid Cohen for the deal.
Funneled through over him, and the president repaid it.
Giuliani's revelation contradicts what the president said on Air Force One, April 5th.
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels? Then why did Michael Cohen make it if there was no truth or allegation?
You have to ask Michael Cohen. Michael's my attorney, and you'll have to ask Michael.
Do you know where he got the money to make that payment?
No, I don't know.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Bidens. It's a very simple answer. And by the way, likewise, China should start an investigation into the Bidens. Because what happened in China is just about as bad as what happened with Ukraine. So I would say that President Zelensky, if it were me, I would recommend that they start an investigation into the Bidens.
We're doing very well. I got to watch enough. I thought our team did a very good job, but honestly, we have all the material. They don't have the material.
Finally, the president and his supporters have said that Ukraine was behind the hacking of the DNC computers and that it wasn't Russia. That was a big issue this week because former NSC official Fiona Hill said that that is Russian disinformation. She debunked that. But on the other hand, President Trump doubled down on that the very next day. Take a look, sir.
This is a fictional narrative that has been perpetrated and propagated by the Russian security services themselves.
They gave the server to CrowdStrike, or whatever it's called, which is a company owned by a very wealthy Ukrainian. And I still want to see that server. You know, the FBI has never gotten that server. That's a big part of this whole thing.
Senator Kennedy, who do you believe was responsible for hacking the DNC and Clinton campaign computers, their emails? Was it Russia or Ukraine?
I don't know, nor do you, nor do any of us. Ms. Hill
well, I mean, let me just interrupt to say the entire intelligence community says it was Russia.
Right, but it could also be Ukraine.
Mr. Nadler votes aye. Ms. Lofgren?
Aye.
Ms. Lofgren votes aye. Ms. Jackson-Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Jackson-Lee votes aye. Mr. Cohen?
Aye.
Mr. Cohen votes aye. Mr. Johnson of Georgia?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson of Georgia votes aye. Mr. Deutsch?
Aye.
Mr. Deutsch votes aye. Ms. Bass?
Aye.
Ms. Bass votes aye. Mr. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Richmond votes yes. Mr. Jeffries?
Aye.
Mr. Jeffries votes aye. Mr. Cicilline?
Aye.
Mr. Cicilline votes aye. Mr. Swalwell?
Aye.
Mr. Swalwell votes aye. Mr. Collins?
No.
Mr. Collins votes no. Mr. Sensenbrenner?
No.
Mr. Sensenbrenner votes no. Mr. Shabbat? No. Mr. Shabbat votes no. Mr. Gomert?
No.
Mr. Gomert votes no. Mr. Jordan? No. Mr. Jordan votes no. Mr. Buck? Mr. Buck votes no. Mr. Radcliffe? No. Mr. Radcliffe votes no.
Is there every member of the committee who wishes to vote voted? The clerk will report.
Mr. Chairman, there are 23 ayes and 17 noes.
The article is agreed to. The resolution as amended is ordered reported favorably to the House. Members will have 2 days to submit views. The resolution will be reported as a single amendment in the nature of a substitute. Without objection, staff is authorized to make technical and conforming changes. Without objection, the committee is adjourned.
Mr. Chairman,
For what purpose does the gentleman seek recognition?
pursuant to Clause 2L of Rule 11, I give notice of intent to file dissenting views.
Notice is heard. Without objection, the committee is adjourned.
Street soldiers patrol the pavement, gotta watch my step when I'm outside the ends late at night. Can't get caught stepping, but I might start tripping. Don't wanna be a victim, darling. 999. But I don't deal with Babylon, them. I got a problem, call up them and them to come.
What is something that you believe the president has done well?
I'm not really sure is.
When you're in a stadium and they broadcast that national, you got to stand and you got to be proud and you got to have your hand up and you got to do everything that's right.
Japanese companies have announced investments in the United States worth more than $8 billion, 17,000 jobs. Thank you. They don't have water. That's okay. What? Oh, it's okay.
Energy Secretary Rick Perry made an interesting declaration about President Trump and how he came to be president.
God's used imperfect people all through history. King David wasn't perfect. Saul wasn't perfect. Solomon wasn't perfect. And I actually gave the president a little one-pager on those Old Testament kings about a month ago. And I shared it with him. I said, Mr. President, I know there are people that say, you know, you said you were the chosen one.
I am the chosen one.
And I said, you were. I said, if you're a believing Christian, you understand God's plan.
Governor Perry, a question about Texas. Your state has executed 234 death row inmates, more than any other governor in modern times. Have you struggled to sleep at night with the idea that any one of those might have been innocent?
No, sir, I've never struggled with that at all. The state of Texas has a very thoughtful, a very clear process in place of which when someone commits the most heinous of crimes against our citizens, they get a fair hearing, they go through an appellate process, they go up to the Supreme Court of the United States if that's required. But in the state of Texas, if you come into our state and you kill one of our children, you kill a police officer, you are involved with another crime and you kill one of our citizens, you will face the ultimate justice in the state of Texas, and that is you will be executed.
What do you make of
Do you want to see a chart that you'll blow your mind? I just got this from one of my newsmen here in the staff. You see that? You see what this is? This is the lowest earthquake. Look, we're going along with earthquakes. This is earthquakes. And then look at down here. Amazing. You want to know what that is? That's the election of Donald Trump. Why would there be a dip in the earthquakes at the time of the election? Why would there be less earthquakes there? The Christians don't participate in the election and the thing goes the wrong direction. I believe our time is so much shorter.
I agree.
The end days, everything the Bible talks about is happening. Is that right?
It is. And if Trump is not reelected, we will see things accelerate in ways that are unimaginable.
Conservative writer and thought leader Arthur Brooks spoke right before the president about the teachings of Jesus Christ to love your enemies, a message the president said he doesn't agree with.
Ask God to give you the strength to do this hard thing, to go against your human nature, to follow Jesus' teaching. You believe Jesus' teaching, act like it. Me too. To love your enemies. Ask God to take political contempt from your heart. And sometimes when it's just too hard, ask God to help you fake it.
Arthur, I don't know if I agree with you. But I don't know if Arthur's going to like what I'm going to say. I don't like people who use their faith as justification for doing what they know is wrong. Nor do I like people who say, I pray for you, when they know that that's not so.
They're vicious and mean, vicious. These people are vicious. Adam Schiff is a vicious, horrible person. Nancy Pelosi is a horrible person. And she wanted to impeach a long time ago when she said, I pray for the president. I pray for the president. She doesn't pray. She may pray, but she prays for the opposite. But I doubt she prays at all. And these are vicious people.
With their blue and red lights flashing, ambulances arrive at Baghdad's international airport, the scene of a deadly missile attack. These are the first photos of the damage caused by the US airstrikes, which have killed several people, including General Qasem Soleimani, the leader of the elite Quds Force, and Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, the deputy commander of the Tehran-backed militias known as the Popular Mobilization Forces. In response, the US president has simply tweeted an image of the Stars and Stripes flag, while the Pentagon says Donald Trump personally ordered the killing of Soleimani in a strike which it says has aimed to deter future Iranian attack plans.